Hello, good afternoon from BETT 2024. We are here in London. I'm Delia DeCourcy. I'm the Global Education Portfolio Manager at Lenovo. I'm also a former educator of 20 plus years. I am joined today by Snow White, who is the U.S. Sales Strategy Director for Intel. Snow, welcome. So good to have you here. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Intel.
Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to be here in London, England, and do not have the London accent, but I have the Texan accent for you today. So at Intel, my role is working with our partners is number one, and making sure that we're meeting their needs on when they're talking to customers. What are they hearing customers need from helping in instruction and helping with the students and how they're going to be using technology. And then, but then also work with a lot of end user customers and do a lot of listening and understanding their needs too. So I get to work with end user customers, and then I get to work with wonderful partners like Lenovo.
Yeah, I feel very lucky that we get to work together. So
I do too. It's mutual.
Great partnership. So I want to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Is your real name Snow White?
It is my real name. My father had a sense of humor, obviously.
And like Disney a lot?
No, he did not like Disney. And he was not a hippie either.
Really?
People asked, were your parents hippies? No, I think the story that I was told is that, so both of my parents are educators. They're now retired, but he was a teacher, one of those fun teachers that would stand on his head during class, get the kids' attention.
Yeah.
He was also a coach, and so they were like, Coach White, what are you going to name your daughter? And he says, I think we're going to name her Snow. And then you just walk away, and how you do the first and last name together, Snow White and Coach White, that's hilarious. But anyway.
And then he actually did.
And then he actually did it.
Okay, all right, I'm glad we've got
So it is my real name. It's on my badge, birth certificate, and everything.
Well, nobody ever forgets your name. That's the benefit. So, all right, you and I have been at BETT for the last 3 days. It's been an intensive 3 days. I say that one day at BETT equals 3 days in the real world.
Absolutely.
What has been maybe your biggest takeaway or highlight from the show?
The biggest takeaway is AI is here. Yeah. AI is everywhere. And pretty much every stand has talked about how they're incorporating AI in their software, into their technology, how teachers are going to be, how they predict teachers are going to be using AI. And so that's probably the biggest takeaway, is that I think in education, we are ahead of some of the other verticals in embracing AI and using it effectively. And so we figured that was going to be the case at Intel. And so it was important for us within our stand is that when they come, how is Intel looking at using AI? And we have various different areas. We launched recently the AI PC. So the AI is actually, the processing is happening on locally the device. We launched something called Meteor Lake as our latest processor. And so we all knew, and when I was learning about technology, you have the CPU, which is like the brain, and that's really all we had. Now you have the GPU, which is focusing on graphics, and with Meteor Lake, you have the NPU, which is the neural processing unit. That's the AI dedicated piece of it. And so we were able to show a lot of our demos without even being connected to the internet.
I noticed that.
And really intense compute.
Yes.
Without needing the cloud. So we had that piece, but the part that of course, my love, being as a former educator too, was Intel Skills for Innovation and having the starter packs that are focused on AI and how teachers could use AI. We were demoing that so someone could come to the stand and experience the starter pack.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about that, because with all of this focus on artificial intelligence, generative AI specifically, and how students and teachers are going to use that, I think Skills for Innovation is a real game changer potentially for schools in terms of enabling that usage and also helping teachers understand how they can talk with students about the responsibility and ethics around AI. So for those of our members of our audience who don't know, what is Skills for Innovation, first of all?
Yeah, so let's start there. What is Intel SFI and Skills for Innovation? So we were looking at, whenever we develop a solution at Intel, we want to make sure it's addressing a challenge or a need that's out there. And employers, what we were looking at is what were they asking for? What kind of skill sets were they needing? And something that we kept seeing rise to the top was around AI and machine learning. And even World Economic Forum did a survey, and their latest results was number one is AI. You know, what are going to be some of the top jobs? And so, but when we would talk to schools and teachers, and we'd say, how are you incorporating AI or machine learning or coding and programming, data science, all of those areas, they're like, I know it's important. I know I need to do it. I just don't have anything to
Don't know
teach.
how.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
And because I mean, I didn't have that in College of Education. We didn't cover those areas. And so that's where Skills for Innovation was trying to address, is allowing teachers to have something that was easy to implement, have all the resources they needed to bring in those skill sets into their existing content area. That was important too. As a teacher, you don't want one more thing. And this is saying, how do we bring in machine learning to your language arts, teaching about Macbeth? How do you bring in data science into your social studies? And so it was bringing into these emerging skills area into existing content that they're teaching, and then doing it at levels for kindergarten, doing it at levels for high school. And so those starter packs were designed to give them that experience so they could start incorporating it to other areas and on their own. But it was important for them to know what were some effective ways of bringing them in and getting some practice doing that.
And I love the real world application in every
Yeah.
lesson. So it's not just learning these skills in a vacuum, but students can see how they're actually applied.
Absolutely. And it has, it's something that so they can apply it to thinking about their world around them. And then there's the social emotional piece too, that's so critical for these kids, is understanding those skills and then understanding the mindsets of design thinking and computational thinking. And then you have your skill sets that we mentioned earlier, as far as programming and AI, machine learning in those areas.
So I'm just going to geek out a little bit.
I'm ready.
I used to be a curriculum writer for about 5 years. And when I saw the Skills for Innovation resources, specifically the lessons, there's also professional development. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I was so impressed with the quality of the lessons and the accompanying resources, the activity sheets, that I thought we have to partner with Intel on this program, because I saw the need that you just spoke about in terms of developing future-ready skills. But I don't want to put anything in front of teachers that's not going to be worth their while, because the last thing they need is bad resources. So was so excited to find out about the program, and also because it helps us have really practical conversations with IT admins about the kinds of devices that students and teachers need, right? You don't always want to buy the cheapest device just because it's the cheapest, because you got to think about what are students and teachers actually doing on their machines, and if they're going to be doing simulation and modeling, coding, you know, maybe they need a heavier processor that can do more work. So I think that while providing great resources for teachers, SFI also helps us show IT admins, like, look, this is really what we need to be looking at, the practical application here of these emerging technologies and how we are introducing them into schools. So it's been really exciting for us, and our customers have been very positive. Speaking of that, tell us a story about SFI where you've seen it implemented.
There's so many great stories, and it is a global program, so which is wonderful. We have over 60,000 teachers currently using Skills for Innovation, and in over 50 countries too. So it's amazing the impact we see globally. You know, I do remember one teacher. This is a school district in the United States, and she was a STEM teacher, a STEM director, and what she loved about it is she introduced the concept of Skills for Innovation. But usually, and especially these last couple of years, teachers are exhausted. There's so much on their plate that they have to do. And so whenever new things were being introduced, it was, oh gosh, this is one more thing.
One more thing, right.
One more thing. With Skills for Innovation, what she found out were teachers were actually logging in and doing some of the professional development on their own, because they found such value, and they found that they could immediately apply it. And so it didn't become one more thing. it became something that supported even better what they were trying to do in the classroom.
Yeah.
And just seeing the excitement with the kids, finding things that are relevant to them.
Right.
I mean, the generation, and I have a 13-year-old daughter,
Yeah.
she's always looking at how can I better the world? What can I do to save the dolphins? What can I do to help clean up litter? You know, and which I love. I love that. I wish everybody was that way. But you know, there's a lot of the modules where they'll bring in like UN sustainable goals and talking about food scarcity and water pollution and how do we address those. And so when a student actually goes through this module, they can immediately go, how's this going to make an impact in my community?
Yeah.
How would I use this in my world? And I love that piece because I still remember some of the classes and going, why am I learning this?
Right.
And my answer would be, because I have a test at the end of the week.
Right.
I don't want our kids doing that. I want them to, when they bring a skill in, I'm learning this because this is something I am going to use
To make a difference.
to make a difference. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, which starter pack lesson is your favorite of the? I think there are 90 in the library at this point.
We now have 100.
Oh, great!
In
Fantastic.
in United States, we have 100. Now we have translated a lot of them because it is global into other languages. So we don't have 100 in every country, but in 100 in English for United States we do. And you know, I'm a little biased here, but I do love the Lenovo modules.
Oh yes, we do have some good.
We got some
starter packs.
Ducati ones. I mean, and again, and I'd love for you to talk about some of them too, but some of the titles, you know, curing cancer. That's so awesome to think about going through a module. And so I'm going to turn the tables on you.
Sure, love that. Love
and
it.
talk about, because I really, when I saw the 6 titles, every single one of them, I was like, as a kid, I would want to go through that.
Yeah, we really, our aim was to create curiosity, right? So the one that you just mentioned about accelerating cancer research that looks at using big data and teaches students about how to clean data and then actually analyze it. Yeah, that was one of my big goals, was to create a sense of curiosity. So I will talk about the Ducati Corsa inspired lessons first, because I think that has a really broad appeal. So we are Ducati's technology partner, and so what we wanted to do was look at how they're using Lenovo technology, so real world application, and then bring that to the students so that they could learn skills and concepts like aerodynamics. And so they get to see how Ducati collects data about aerodynamics and run a simulation in SimScale, which is free software that students can use to run simulations and models. And then draw some conclusions about aerodynamics in the process, all the while learning about Ducati Corsa racing bikes, right? So pretty fun stuff.
So fun.
And the other thing about the Ducati lessons that I love is that we did interviews with Ducati employees, like their CTO, so that students can learn about, well, when I have skills like this, what can I actually do with that in the real world? And that's a pretty cool job. So we've got the aerodynamics lesson. We've got one where students are designing their own racing bike. So that focuses on design thinking skills. And then the third one looks at gathering data from IoT sensors on the bike and adjusting performance and elements of the bike as a result. So that's a computational thinking lesson. So I'm very excited about those.
They're so fun, and like I said, every single one of them, I thought as a kid, I'd want to go through that, and it does bring, you think of Ducati and you think of racing, and you just think of someone racing.
Yeah,
Skills for Innovation's bringing a whole new element to it. And,
that's right.
And
that's right.
And I love, another thing is, I talked about the social emotional piece, but there's a lot of modules that bring in the empathy piece and having empathy. So one of them around water cycle or not water cycle.
The Smart Cities one?
Oh, it's what I should know all my modules here, but it's the clean water. Sorry, clean water.
So this is one of your new Intel's starter packs.
We do, yeah. Oh, we have some of the green, the green tech ones,
yeah.
But one of them starts off talking about the mortality rate of childbirth in different countries,
Oh, wow.
based on what kind of access do they have to clean water. A lot of kids don't realize how different their world is in one location from somebody else. And so it walks through that piece. And of course the kids love, there's one part of that activity where you get to see toilets all around the world.
Oh,
and
no,
so,
I have not seen that.
Oh, it's a great one. It's so fun. And so kids are like, that's their toilet? That's their toilet? Who knew toilets were so different? But so the kids like to see that, and then, but it all goes back to clean water and how that impacts birth rate. And so, or the mortality rate. And so, and then with data science, they created a visual from that, and then they look at their own community.
Right.
Do I have clean water? Do I have access to clean water? And why do I have access to clean water? And so I love that empathy, because it allows them to see a different perspective.
Yeah, get outside of their own
Absolutely.
bubble.
So a lot of the modules will have some kind of piece like that to open their eyes to what they may not even know that's what's in other places.
Now, I do want to emphasize for the educators who might be interested in these modules that the lessons, they are mapped to existing standards.
Yes.
So the ISTE standards.
ISTE standards, computer science, the Common Core, Texas,
UK.
the UK standards, Singapore.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's quite a few. We tried to find some ones that were generic enough that they could pull it down and see, okay, this starter pack matches this lesson, or this standard. ISTE, what's nice about that one, that's international. And so if anything, they could look at the international technology standards and see the alignment.
Right.
But as a teacher, we know that's key, is like what standards are am I hitting?
Absolutely. Otherwise, why would I bring it into the classroom? Because my curriculum is so packed already. So if teachers want to go out and find the professional development for SFI as well as the starter pack lessons, where do they go?
So very easy website. It's skillsforinnovation.intel.com. And then there's a Lenovo access code. So Delia, you want to share that?
So when you create your account, you use the passcode Lenovo SFI Demo, DEMO. That gives you 30 days of free access, so you can check out all the lessons, you can start to do the PD, and go from there.
Yeah, and as an administrator, what's nice about it is that if you decide you want to implement this in your school, you actually have access to a learning management system, and you can see what teachers took the course, what starter pack are they working on, and it prints out certificates, so you can see, a teacher can submit a certificate saying I went through this course, and then they have digital badges. So we try to bring in the rewards too for going through it, but as an administrator, I like to be able to know, who all is using it, and it helps for me to design what professional development am I going to focus on in the future, based on the skill sets that they have now.
Well, Snow, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and this is not only today here in the podcast, but at BETT.
Oh yeah, my feet are hurting.
I know.
My feet are hurting.
My brain hurts a little bit.
That's true.
But thank you all for joining us here at BETT 2024, and we hope that you'll visit the SFI website and download some of those starter packs.
Thank you.
Thanks.